I got the stainless Bueller custom base. We're going to go over how to tie a core shot bucktail jig. We're starting off with a 1/8 ounce jig head, which I have powder coated white. We're going to start off by adding some adhesive on the shank and tying with a 200 denier thread, red thread. Take it all the way down the shank and back up to the head of the jig, and then we're going to cut off that tag. Inspiration from this, from all the core shot plastics that have been coming out, I kind of wanted to just do a bucktail jig that kind of mimic that same look. We're going to start off with some medium deer tail in red. I'm going to pinch off and cut off a piece that I like, and then I'm going to pinch that and get rid of the guard hairs. I pinch about halfway down when I'm doing that, and then I just fan it out and kind of pull all the shorter hairs out. Then we're going to measure it and clip it to about where I would like to place it on the hook shank. And we're going to tie that right in. For this style of jig, I really like to tie it down all the way down the shank of the hook, at least on this first tie-in, because I want the flaring to be towards the back end. Manipulating those strands with my fingers just to make sure that the bucktail is in the spot that I would like it. Alright, then what we're going to do is we're going to be tying in strands of white bucktail. I'm using a large white premium bucktail for this. We're going to go ahead and cut off the piece that we would like, fan out the guard hairs, and tie it in piece by piece. We're going to be tying it around that red. Get rid of those guard hairs. Measure it up. And we're going to start off on the bottom end of this jig, just to make sure that we have coverage on that side. With this tie-in, we're going to be tying it closer to the head of the jig. We're just going to be making sure that it flares out from the top end. Repositioning some of that bucktail to where I would like it. Manipulating with my fingers, and then cranking down to tie that back in. Sometimes when you have bucktail that's hanging out towards the jig head, if you get up underneath it and pull it forward, as you can see, you can manipulate it back into your tie-in, and it just kind of folds it over, and you can tie right back over it. And we're going to repeat this process a couple of times until we get all the way around that red part of the bucktail. And cut off a piece and fan that out and get rid of the guard hairs, and then tie that second piece in as well. I like this pattern because it kind of mimics the bleeding shad or the bleeding minnow. Tie that next one in, manipulate it with our fingers to get it to where we want it on that jig, and then tie it down and lock it in place. guard hairs, and we're going to tie in this next piece as well. Loose tie-in. Manipulate it with my fingers, kind of pinching it down and pulling it back, and then locking it back out into place. And this should be our last piece that we have to tie in. Getting rid of those guard hairs and tying that last piece in place. Sorry for my dog being so noisy. Build up the collars on these just to make sure that the thread is fully covering, and also keeps tension as you get slippage once the jigs hit the water. And then we're going to whip finish this 3 times just to ensure and go down the shank of that hook. Thread and add adhesive to the outside of it, and then you have your finished product. That bleeding shad or bleeding minnow type. Thank you guys for watching.